Support for vaccination mandates, attend in-person school, 55%, attend sports events, 55%, work in person, 54%. Only shop in a grocery store at 41% has less than majority support. But the key here is the trend line. Look at this, 49 to 55, 47 to 55, 46 to 54. And even in shop in a grocery store, up 15 points from 26 to 41%.
Okay, so we're gonna be jumping into a bunch of different aspects of the whole vaccine mandate thing. And I want you to bear in mind that this poll, most of the time encapsulating the poll is before Biden actually announced the new mandates. Now, which again is not a mandate, we'll talk about that. But so the announcement could influence what people think about it. It could make people more supportive of it. There's a lot of talk about it, obviously, in the news. It could make some Republicans less interested because they're being told by everyone they trust that it's like it's the thing Hitler would do. But it does look like overall, there's at least a slim majority support for mandates for quite a few of the most substantive activities, Francesca.
Yeah, as there should be, because right now we have horrible numbers across the country. And so people are being convinced by literally what's happening in their communities. And especially people who are vaccinated, who are living in communities with high unvaccination rates. And so anything to help, I mean, you can kick and scream all you want, but you will be saving lives. Folks will be saving lives. And so, and I know it's not just right wingers, it's gonna be a lot of, liberals and pundits being like, isn't there some other way where we can handhold the people who don't believe in science, but wanna take like a horse dewormer? No, sometimes you have to have a new regulation and a new rule to actually keep people safe because new stuff comes to light, dude.
Yeah, that's true. So let's get into a little bit more of the polling. We have this little screenshot here showing, this is Harry Anson, by the way, on CNN. You can see the difference between those in the GOP side of things, those in the Democratic side of things, obviously very different views of this. And I'm sure that that's something baked into their DNA. It's not just the result of right-wing messaging being almost universally against vaccination for the last year, if I had to guess. Now, in terms of what's actually happening after the announcement, several GOP governors immediately promised litigation, saying they would sue. It's not immediately clear how they have any standing as governors of states to sue. You would imagine regular people being affected by it would have to, but they want to. Even bearing in mind that Mr. Biden gave businesses an out, and I will keep reminding people this, employees who do not want to get vaccinated can undergo weekly testing, a fact that his critics fail to note. By the way, I'm glad that the New York Times acknowledged that. But it's not just a fact that his critics fail to note, it's a fact that everyone basically fails to note. Cheryl Gay Stolberg noted it. Occasionally it's brought up, but most of the conversations do not acknowledge this. And actually, I saw a comment from Indy Dragon who says, messaging disaster, it should be a testing mandate. You opt out by getting the vaccine. Which I'm not saying that's a good idea. It's not gonna fool, like Tucker Carlson's not suddenly gonna be in favor of it, but that does seem like a better way to phrase it. And again, you do not have to get vaccinated. I cannot believe that incredibly important detail is not a bigger part of this conversation.
So it's not actually a mandate, is what you're saying?
No, it isn't actually. You are mandated to do one of the two things, even though, again, that's only about 1 out of every 3 working American adults. In any event, in terms of the legality of it, it does appear at this point that it will end up being ruled constitutional, hypothetically by a hypothetical Supreme Court. We don't have a hypothetical random Supreme Court. We have a right-wing Supreme Court, which will do whatever they want. But in the past, Justice John Marshall Harlan reasoned that a community has the right to protect itself against an epidemic of disease, in that case smallpox, quote, which threatens the safety of its members. Seems like that's what they're doing. The Supreme Court upheld a local health board's decision to mandate smallpox vaccinations in Jacobson v. Massachusetts back in 1905. States routinely require nearly all school-aged children to receive a long list of vaccines, which is true. We've acknowledged it, and it's even a sort of line of thought that's being acknowledged finally on Fox News. I want you to take a look at this video of Chris Wallace, who is talking to the Republican governor of Nebraska, Pete Ricketts.
You say it's a personal choice. In fact, to attend school in your state of Nebraska, children must be vaccinated against a number of diseases. Let me put them up on the screen. They must be vaccinated against diphtheria, tetanus and pertussis, polio, measles, mumps and rubella, hepatitis B, and chickenpox. Why are those mandates that parents in your state must comply with and do comply with routinely? Why is it that they're not so objectionable and such a violation of personal freedom, but Biden's vaccine mandates are?
Well, for all those that you just listed, there's a long history that parents have had the opportunity to see how those things have been implemented. And there's still a lot of people out there who don't know what to trust. And in fact, this is really an outcome of what the CDC has done, because they've flip-flopped on so many issues, whether it's masks or whether you have to mask after you've been vaccinated and so forth. There's just a lot of people out there who don't know who to trust right now.
I'll give you first crack at that. What do you think?
Oh, I just think that the crickets behind him say it all. There's just a loud churring of like, as he's like trying to figure out how to word this. Yeah, the CDC, they've really flip-flopped. Yeah, this isn't gay marriage in the 90s, dude. Like, this is a mutating virus that has killed 600,000 Americans at this point or more. Like
657, 58, somewhere on there.
Yeah, and counting. The deadliest days in a lot of these states we've just passed, right? So like, yeah, they're gonna change their opinion because they're learning more about a virus that's still, even though it's been about a year and a half, like people don't know what it is. We're still learning about it. So, I mean, and I think like Chris Wallace, once again, somehow he's not a liberal, he's not on the left, but he's just asking a basic question, which is, you have to get all these other vaccines. Why not this one? Look, guys, there's a reason we've never heard of pertussis. You ever heard of pertussis? You're like, oh God, nah, I gotta take the week off. I got the pertussis. No, you have not in your lifetime, most likely, because we've eliminated it thanks to vaccines.
Yeah, 100%. And his argument, I mean, look, obviously when they're sending GOP governors, they're not sending their best. It's just people don't know who to trust. I mean, I'm not a part of that. Me and all the right, we're not like desperately trying to make people not think that they can trust these. They just don't know who to trust. Like the CDC, for instance, they lie. They lied with masks and with whether you have to wear masks and get vaccinated. What are you talking about? Like that was literally what he said. The CDC did not lie about masks. They will never move past that. In like the second day of the pandemic, Fauci said that you didn't have to wear a mask. And whether you think he was right or wrong to do so, he's explained why he said that. It wasn't the scientific consensus of the CDC, and not one person on the right has ever drawn the right conclusion from that. That they were lying in that case in a way that made you more vulnerable. The truth was that you needed a mask. None of them have come out of their obsession with that quote saying, oh, I definitely need a mask. Thank God we figured that out. And it's a really weird, like if your case is that we don't know enough, we need to learn more, continually saying that the CDC, having learned from the result of us dealing with the pandemic, is a bad thing. And if they ever evolve, if they ever say anything new, we can never trust them again. That fundamentally undercuts your we just need more time and more study argument, especially when these are vaccines that have been tested on tens of thousands of people, of course, across months and months and months. He doesn't know that, he doesn't care that. Ask him about how rigorous the testing of the pertussis vaccine was. How many people did they test that on? He doesn't know. I'm betting it was pretty good, but I don't know any more than he does about this. It's a political thing, it's a partisan thing, that's it. He believes that his fans out there, whether in his state or nationally, won't accept having to take a vaccine. And so he hides behind people don't know who to trust. That's it.
Yep.
Yes. Now, we'll skip past the other vaccines. Yes, many states require, Georgia, Mississippi, they all require massive amounts of vaccination. Anyway, and finally, the Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1970 permits the Secretary of Labor to issue an emergency temporary standard to protect employees exposed to grave danger from things that might harm them. So there's both constitutional reasons to believe it'll end up being acceptable. There are legal precedents as well. We'll see if they end up allowing any of that. And when I say they, I mean the conservative Supreme Court.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.